Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFLW Fantasy Fanatics Thursday night pre-lockout chat ahead of round 3. I was about to say round 4 then, all over the place. But I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And joining me, as always, is my co-host and fellow AFLW Fantasy Fanatic, Tom Hales. Tom, mate, how are you? How's the week been for you so far?
Yeah, good. Moving house at the minute, so all a bit stressful, but happy to take a break from that and talk some fantasy footy.
What's more stressful, moving house or having to make decisions for your fantasy team?
Oh, 100% AFLW Fantasy.
Yeah.
This week, I think across the board, we have a forced trade or two, and I think the decisions this week are very, very big to shape the rest of our year. So good to chat it through with a couple of great minds.
Yep, exactly. I'm so glad. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm glad you said a couple of great minds because we are joined by another very great mind. He is one of the hosts of the Free Kick, the official AFLW Fantasy podcast, and also the highest scoring coach of the Content Creators Cup in round 2. That is a good friend, Jono. Jono, mate, how are you? I'm sure that weekend was pretty good from your end. Very good score from you, mate.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Appreciate it. It was I feel like it was a great weekend where every single game that came in just made me feel better, which was great. And it all happened pretty early. There was a point, I think overnight on Saturday, I was sitting 22nd and I was just going, how high am I going to hold on here as a lot of popular players were coming in. So no, it was a nice weekend. Good week for fantasy.
Yep, exactly. No, very, very good week by you, mate. Tick under 1,600. Where's your over rank at now, actually? I forgot what you said on the Free Kick pod.
I'm sitting at 416 at the moment. So
beautiful.
A bit further to climb, but feeling all right. Yeah.
How many points have you got for the season? Just curious, as someone that's ranked not too far behind you.
Yeah, so I think at the moment I'm looking at 2,822. So I'm roughly 50 odd points off the top 100 spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 50 points behind you and I'm 700 places behind you. That's how close it is.
Very tight rank.
Yeah. Very, very close, obviously, to start the season. So, but we do have some issues to speak through. So we'll chat about a couple of the key topics, and then we'll get into your questions. So if you are tuning in live, then get your questions in the chat. We do have a super chat here, which we do answer those pretty much as soon as they come through. So thank you to Corey Blackledge for that one. Thank you, mate. So he's asking thoughts on O'Shea to Boyd, Tonnen to Stone, and Too Good to Ash Woodland. So, Jono, what are your thoughts on those trades there? O'Shea is probably an interesting one in a way, but I guess you're getting that cash from Boyd there. But what are your thoughts on the 3 trades in general?
Yeah, and I have the same thing. I think O'Shea's got a bit of money to make, but generally the 3 players that you're bringing in there are all top notch. So I'm bringing in the same 3 with my current trades at the moment. So I think it's a good set.
Yeah, I think I like the 3-ins as well. O'Shea's got a bit of cash to make, and I think a few people are looking at you talk about a Jess Wrench potentially out, because the thing that and this will probably bring us to a key sort of point from Corey is that Too Good's out. But that sort of interlinks with the fact that we don't actually have a lot of cash to sort of play with. Well, at least I don't anyway. I don't know about you boys, but where are we finding this cash? Because Bonnie Too Good's out for 2 weeks. I think that we're all in agreement. It is a trade. We're not holding anyone for 2 weeks based on the fact it's a shorter season, the AFLW, and we were trying to get that cash gen and those points. So, John, where are you finding the cash? Because at the moment, I'm finding it quite difficult from where to get this cash from.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think for the moment, I'm sort of looking at 2 different sources, and I'm not sure where I'm settling. One is I'm looking at some of the rookies that are going up. They might still have cash to make, but I think I can find fast cash with someone like Tess Boyd. Because in those early weeks, if you can make 200K all in the one go, that's obviously pretty exciting. And I think Laura Stone in particular is one who could make a lot of cash quickly in the forward line. Tess Boyd, I have a lot of concerns over the job security, not because they haven't played well, but because there's so many excellent North Melbourne players that are currently outside the squad. But I think as long as they play, they're going to score well. I'm happy to run with that. The other one is, I suppose there are premiums in my team that I'm looking at that I'm just a little nervous are not necessarily going to be scoring reliably every week. So one of the players in my team's Cambridge McCormick. She's been scoring very late in games, and it just makes me nervous. I think there's a chance that they'll put up 40 or 30 sometime soon, and I don't want to be on them when it happens. So I think those are the sort of sources I'm looking at for the moment. I think if you were going to restructure your team, I think last week was the time to do it because the premiums have really popped off. So I feel like there wouldn't be too many out there at the moment that you'd be keen to jump off.
Yeah, I agree. Tom, whereabouts are you finding the cash? I know that you've got like Ange Stannett, which is like a pretty easy sort of sideways across. But is there anyone else in your team you're looking at going, I can get some cash from there, or are you finding it tricky as well?
Ange Stannett is number one out of my team as soon as lockout opens. I mentioned on Sunday, and I will continually mention I still have Ange Stannett, and she will leave my side at the first possible opportunity. And luckily, that's for my personal trades, that's enough cash to be able to go to players I want to go to, so I can go down from Stannett to Stone, and that gives me enough cash to be able to do 2 little upgrades. Because I already own Woodland, which is a popular forward trade in this week. I got her last week. So I've got other things to be doing this week. Another play you could look at is a bit like Jono said, kind of those premiums who are not doing badly. So like a Serene Watson. She's not doing badly. She's kind of doing what we expected her to do, but she's not making cash. She's losing a little bit of cash each week. So that could be an option to go down as a bit of a cash grab there. Bring a better scoring defensive rookie on field. One thing I would say is now off the table due to teams is the rook down to like a Liz McGrath is now probably off the table just due to Lakai being named by the West Coast Eagles. So that dual rook sharing setup, I think, as we saw in round 1, really caps what McGrath can score. So that cash grab, unfortunately for us, is off the table.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll quickly go through the teams in a second as well. And I'm looking at my team, and yeah, like the only 2 places I can see me really getting cash from, because I feel like I'm hamstrung in a way in terms of flexibility with the 5 big mids, which I'm not complaining with because they're all scoring well at the moment. So I'm pretty happy with those. But it's either going, as you mentioned, Tom, a Serene Watson or an Eve McLaughlin or a Paxi Paxman down to a Tess Boyd and putting 2 defender rookies on field for a couple of weeks. Or, I'm not interested to get your boys' thoughts on this, Georgie Prasparkas, slightly down to Kate Hall. So it's not really not trading out Georgie because she's been back. She's been great. Back-to-back tons. I look at the Sydney matchup and go, I think Tanya Kennedy goes and tags her, and you can get Kate Hall, who's just below $1 million, that's dropped a bit, but great run coming up. Got the ceiling. A few people looked at, like, I think a DC, I think Liam mentioned it, talking about like Bowers to Kate Horan. I wasn't as on board with that, just because I think Bowers can still go massive. Whereas I think, well, Prasparkas with a potential tag, could I jump off there, get some cash and do that? So I don't know if any of you boys would tick off a move like that at this time of the year, or, well, Johnny, you guys talked about on the Free Kick pod that cash gen's probably going better than what we probably thought, and maybe some of these sideways moves already at this time of the year could be feasible.
Yeah, I certainly think it's something that I've considered throughout the week as well. I find it really hard because you talk about someone like Georgie who's got a tough matchup with Sydney, but then plays the Bombers, the Tigers, and the Power in the next 3 after that, which I think could be a little bit better scoring. So it's just tricky when, Prasparkas has scored all right so far this year, but hasn't popped off with these big scores. But she has also played North and the Crows. So 2 tough matchups. It's kind of hard to know who's going to have these pop scores. And this is I think you want to be on them when they do. So I suppose my concern with someone like Bowers or Prasparkas is they're a good chance to be a top 5 come the end of the season. And I'm just going to end up trading them back in, and potentially at a more expensive price if I don't get them back in soon. So I suppose to me, it's really a question of who you see lasting the season in your team if you don't trade them. And because I think there's a lot of defenders, like if I was to jump off a Cambridge McCormick this week or even a Paxi Paxman, I don't see them being in the top 5 defenders come the end of the year.
Yeah. So you're getting rid of.
So I suppose I'm a little more comfortable with that. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas George Pasparkas, you're looking, or over to Carabaos, you're looking at your team and going, well, my team's complete, right? Whereas you look at like a Paxman or even a like Need McLaughlin to an extent as well, you're like, well, are they top 5? Are they, quote unquote, completed team? There might be more. So that's probably not a bad point that you could trade one of those players out. We do have a super chat from Will Bite, so thank you, mate. He's saying, hey, boys, should I go Painter to Boyd and then Too Good to Stone and Rowbottom to Garner? So that's an interesting one. Garner, Riddell, or Gardner, or go Too Good to Harris and Rowbottom to Gardner. So, Tom, where would you go here? A couple of options here, but are you going the first option or the second one?
I do like the Taylor Harris pick. I don't know, actually. I think I would probably do. Oh, I don't know. This is really close for me because being able to get Garner, who could be M1 at the end of the year, and having an opportunity to do that is never going to be a bad thing. I think she's quite expensive now, though. I probably would go for the second one.
It's about 40k less than Marinoff. So
I probably would go for the second one purely because you're getting 2 better players and you're going to score more. And I really like the Taylor Harris pick, so I'm going to go with that one. But I think it's really close.
Jono?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Taylor Harris generally. I think
you're a big fan of Melbourne. You've been on Melbourne for a while.
Yeah, I mean Melbourne. I really love their run, and I've had Harris in previous seasons, and she's done me great service over the years. So I'm a big fan there. The one that really tempts me is Ash Riddell because I feel like she's probably at a price point that's going to be the cheapest she's going to be for the rest of the year, even after that 166, or 165, which is wild to think, but. That's one that tempts me a little bit, but I think the Harris to Gardner is 2 premiums. I would have no hesitation in doing that.
Yeah, I think I'm.
Jeez, tough one, though.
Yeah, I think I'm second one as well. I actually did at the very, very start of the week. Just played around with my team, and unfortunately, I was short anyway. So I'm probably glad I am short because I would have been tempted to do it. But I actually looked at a scenario where I went Serene Watson down to Boyd. McLaughlin to Stone and then Prasparkas up to Garner. Just have Garner, Riddell, Marinoff, all my team. But I'm 33k short, so I'm probably glad I can't because I would have been tempted just to get the big mids in now. But I'm probably not smart in terms of cash gen because I can get. I guess that's what Fish could be for, right? Fish on the bench could mean that we can get those big mids in soon. But let's quickly just recap, go through the teams, and we'll get to all of your questions. So we'll go quickly through. Looking forward to the chat on Free Kick on Air, which will be, I believe, tomorrow afternoon at 5:30 Eastern, which we'll hear, obviously, the Free Kick crew along with Jono chat through all the teams and what it means and a lot more in-depth analysis than what I guess me and Tom could give you guys. So we'll quickly run through. So the teams changes. So Sierra Greaves, Ali Dalloway, and Charlie Wicksteed coming for Richmond. Beck Miller, Grace Egan, both are injured, and Lulu Beattie's been dropped. And for the Bombers, Jess Verbrugge and Amelie Gladman come in for Sophie Vanderhoovel, who unfortunately, I think it's MCL, so she's out for, I believe, the season, or at least the majority of it. And Bonnie Toogood's out suspended. We've got a couple of debutantes here, Jono. Anyone that you like here from the debutantes you could jump on?
Yeah, I think Sierra Greaves is one that was pretty highly rated coming into the draft. I think she was a first-round pick. And looked, of all the Richmond players in that practice game against Hawthorn, I thought she looked the best, sort of playing on that wing role. So I can sort of see that. I don't think Grace Egan's going to be out for long, and that's going to impact that. So I'm not sure I'd jump on without seeing it. But, could definitely be one to watch. The Essendon ones, I'm always nervous when it's a suspension and then they're just going to come straight back in. So I'm not sure I'd go there necessarily.
Yep. Next game is on Saturday. So GWS and Adelaide. No changes for the Crows, and GWS, Jess Doyle and Daisy Walker comes in for her first game in quite a while. And Grace Koch is out injured. So that's a a red dot for a lot of us. And Sophie Kavanagh has been dropped as well. So Daisy Walker, Jono, been out for a while, quite cheap. Is just a bit of a watch and wait this week to see how she goes against the Crows, because then she's got Gold Coast the following week?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the Giants have a fairly established set of their defenders and how they like to run things. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to fit in, to be honest. And I feel like after long layoffs, sometimes it takes a while to get back in. I'd be surprised if Daisy Walker went up such an amount in the first week that we shouldn't be taking a look at it. Would be my thoughts there.
Next game, St Kilda and West Coast. St Kilda made a couple of changes. So Hannah Stewart and Liv Vesely come in. So a couple of midfielders. So a bit of a watch on Georgia Patrikios just to see how she goes with a few mids in, because she's been very good to start the year. And Nat Plain and Ariana Clark have both been dropped. And the big one for West Coast, so Courtney Lindgren and Charlotte Riggs, both making their debuts. But Sarah Lakai is back in for West Coast. So really sucks for those that jumped on Liz McGrath last week, because you were obviously very happy and going, well, I'm a step ahead. And then unfortunately, Lakai's back in. So whether you jump off straight away or not is something to consider. Amy Franklin is dropped. Dane Hooker is out for personal reasons. And Kaylee Kavanagh has been dropped as well. Jono, with the debutantes, Courtney Lindgren and Charlotte Riggs, any interest from either of those? I think Charlotte Riggs, she's a ruck, I believe, like 340.
Yeah, listed as a ruck, but I'm pretty sure she'll be playing as a tall defender. To me, she's a very good player. I really liked what we saw in the preseason. I can sort of see her in sort of that similar mold to Poppy Schultz, where I think there's a few marks in the back line, probably scoring in that 40s to 50s range. I think coming off injury makes me a little nervous to start her, but I think of everyone debuting this week, she's probably the one that has the most interest from my point of view. Courtney Lindgren, I think, is key forward. That's a challenging role to come in as a debutant, so I wouldn't necessarily be looking too closely there.
Yeah. Could you go Piper Dunlop down to Riggs on the bench if that's the way of getting the little bit of money you need for an upgrade?
I mean, yeah, I think Riggs, I imagine, will have the job security. I think they're short on key defenders, so definitely one that could go the journey this season. And I suppose, yeah, there's not really a lot of options to go down from Piper Dunlop. So, if you're needing someone at the 300K mark, this is probably going to be your best chance for the next few weeks.
It's a very tall West Coast team, just looking at the side. Very tall.
Well, it's good. At least it means Jess Wrench will hopefully stay in the midfield. That's
Roxy Rue, both Wackfors, Riggs, Lindgren.
Cleaver's fairly tall as well.
Cleaver's fairly tall, and two rucks. It seems tall as a side, but
I think they're
That's just my West Coast
back line though that aren't necessarily like usually defenders. Like Roxy Rue plays everywhere on the ground. It's very rare that she settles in defense. It was probably only last year she got in there more long term. So I can see that Riggs, I think this is where you kind of get confused with the champion data position listings, because she's definitely a back player. I'm surprised she was a ruck in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
One point I will make, and I'm going to say this with the largest pinch of salt possible. Georgia Patrikios is named on the half forward flank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The largest pinch of salt.
Yeah. Well, I think she was named on the forward flank last week, but yes, it's a bit more of a flag this week with a few midfielders coming in.
I'm just looking at Lambert, Anderson, Smith with Barr, Stewart, Vesely on the bench as well. There's a lot of players who you would say their prime position is midfield. Obviously, some of those are going to play off a half forward.
And Barr will be on a wing. Yeah,
it's kind of a tricky position for the Saints, just because it's like their midfield last year was awful, and they've started really promisingly this year, but they've had these great midfielders on the sidelines. It's kind of hard not to bring them in, but do you want to change up that mix? I don't know what you do.
Yeah. Something definitely to be watching moving forward.
I certainly wouldn't be bringing Patrikios in this week.
No, well, she's not 100K now, right? You got Kate Hall, who's not even 90K more expensive. I'd rather go there if you're looking for for a midfield target. Geelong and Sydney. So Zali Friswell comes back into the side and Bright O'Rourke has been dropped. And Sydney, no changes. So not too much to speak of there. Then we got Gold Coast. So Port Adelaide and Gold Coast. Emily Ball comes in for Jazz Stewart, who's been dropped. And then Gold Coast, Taylor Gregory, Clara Fitzpatrick, and Jack DePie in for Lauren Bella, who's been dropped, which I guess is still quite surprising, I think, for a lot of us. Wallace Randall and Ella Smith have been dropped as well. So I'm actually looking at this and going, with Bella being dropped and Jack DePie coming in, I'm a bit quietly confident about Havana Harris potentially keeping a bit more of that midfield role, which we saw in the last quarter last week. Jono, do you think that's a realistic sort of expectation that Havana Harris could at least be spending some time in that midfield? Because I thought she looked okay when she was in there.
Yeah, for sure. I think Jackie DePie is most likely to sit deep forward. So I think at the very least it pushes Harris up the field, whether that's half forward or in the midfield. I think overall it's a good thing.
Yeah, and we saw what she did in that first game, right, when she got right up the ground, getting involved a lot and scored 88. So I'm hopeful that she can keep going and making some cash. That'd be very, very good. But for Portside, though, if you've got Matilda Schultz, you hold. You don't trade with Lauren Bella out up against Taylor Gregory. You hold Matilda Schultz there, which is someone that traded Schultz last week. Slightly annoyed, but at the end of the day, if I didn't trade her, it was going to be Riddell or Gardner. So I'll take that little win there for my own team. Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn. You've got Annalene McKee comes in for Kaylee Kimber, who's out injured, and then Ellie Simmons and Jenna Richardson come in for Jess Vukic and Lavinia Cox. I hope I've got that correct. Ellie Simmons, though, debut for your Hawks. Jono, I wonder if you're going to be going to this game, obviously being a Saturday night, but any interest in Simmons in her debut for the Hawks?
Yeah, I'm probably more excited as a fan. I think she's coming in to play that second ruck role, and she's not particularly tall. She's just shy of 180 centimeters. So I think more of like a basketball, recent football convert who shows a lot of talent. I'd be surprised if she racks up a lot of disposals, but at the same time, it's exciting that she's edged out Vukic, because I think Vukic has been pretty good for the Hawks over the last season and a bit. So keen to see what she can do.
Yeah, no, something to watch for sure. You'll be going there as well?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, should be a good one there. Hopefully your Hawks can get a win for you, mate. Then we go to Sunday. We got Collingwood and Melbourne. And the unfortunate one for Collingwood, Ruby Slisher out in concussion protocols. So that could rise the stocks of some of those Melbourne mids. But Neil Morris Dalton comes back in. So good to see them back in the side. Georgia Knight, Eliza James, and Georgia Clark are into the extended squad as well. And then Melbourne have got a few outs, but a lot of in. So you got Riley Wotherspoon, Alicia Pisano, Gemma Rigoni, Amelia Deathridge, Sophie Casey, and Mika Morrissey. And then outs is Bly Mackin out injured. Liv Purcell, unfortunately, out injured as well with an ACL. So hopefully she can recover soon, because she was dominating to start the year in her first 6 quarters. And Sinead Goldrick is out as well. With Slisher out, Tom, does this rise your sort of hopes if you're looking at a Kate Hoare, at a Tyler Hanks, or another player that's named on ball? Shelley Heath is named back on ball after spending a bit more time out of the midfield last week, but with Purcell out, do you think that she gets a bump again?
I think, in short, yes. The very small data set we have, Collingwood, where it was a very low scoring fantasy game last week for Collingwood, like nobody turned up in the whole game. So it'd be interesting to see whether that's a game style or just that game is a bit of an outlier. But with no Slisher in there, I definitely think Melbourne being the heavy favourites in this game, surely we're getting a little bit of a bump for those Melbourne Stars. Yep,
I do agree. Moving to Freo and North Melbourne. So Tanisha Kikoak, Joanne Craig, Indiana West, and Holly Iffold come in for Ash Brazel, who's out injured. So that was something I know you guys flagged on Monday or Tuesday when it came out on the pod, Jono, that would have been the matchup potentially for Jazz Garner deep forward, but potentially now that'll be an interesting one to see where that goes. And Emma Carney, Jenna Bruton, and Ella Slocombe come into the extended squad. So obviously Carney back into a big in for North Melbourne. Tess Boyd, though, Jono, named on field. Are you obviously confident, at least for this week, that you can jump into Boyd?
Yeah, I think with the next couple of weeks, I was surprised not to see them on the list this week. They must have just pulled up short in the captain's run. But we've got Bella Eddy coming back, and then the other one, Emma King, who I think are comfortable best 21 players. So I think when we cut some people at the end of teams, it's going to be interesting. I think Tess Boyd is probably going out either next week. It makes me a little bit nervous. Having said that, they're going to make a ton of cash as long as they play this week. Like, I'm happy to ride it for 1 week, hopefully make another 200K and then move them on, because it's been hard trying to figure out where to get this cash. So just quick turnover I'm okay with. But yeah, definitely one that I'm keeping an eye out for tomorrow night when they, slice that bench up.
Yeah, exactly. And
named
final
on field for Tess Boyd. Tess Boyd's named on field, which is usually a good thing. And I would say the interchange bench looks like it's in order, with O'Shea, Purdy, Smith, Wall, and O'Loughlin being the 5 who will keep the place with.
Usually, if Hetherington's got, though, being the backup ruck, that would be the interesting part.
You've still got Sheila, Randall, and Berg who can chop out in there. It's all 3 fairly tall forwards who one of them can come in. Because strong players might get time on ground. And I think they'll want Rennie to match her if possible.
And I don't think Hetherington really held up too well against someone like Matilda Schultz. So against Mim Strom, you'd worry in the same way.
Yeah.
So you may as well run with the better bench and take your chances.
Yeah, deal with it.
Yeah, North Melbourne are too stacked. They're just so stacked. So stacked. Brisbane and Carlton, the final game here. So Rania Crozier, Dion Heslop, and Evie Long come in. No outs for Brisbane as of yet. Obviously extended squad. And Siofra O'Connell, Aisling Reedy, Lulu Field, and Madison Torpy come in, and Mia Austin has been dropped. Any of the debutantes here, Jono, you're interested in? Obviously, Lulu Field was someone that we looked at in the preseason, named on the extended bench, though, so I guess we'll see. But could you jump there?
I'm pretty sure I saw that O'Connell had a debut announcement.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, so I think that's probably most likely when we cut the bench down. And they were someone that we were keeping tabs on in preseason as well. I think in some of those match sims, they look pretty impressive. So I think that'll be interesting as well. I don't really know where they fit in because I feel like the Carlton lineup is pretty well settled at the moment. And I honestly thought they were a lot better against the Hawks than I'd given them credit for in the preseason. They locked us down really, really well. And so it'll be interesting to see where they slot in. But I think O'Connell could be a good one just to watch for 1 week. Yep,
agreed. So that is the teams there. So I guess we'll go through our, current. Actually, no, we'll do trade plans at very end. Actually, no, we'll do trade plans now because we'll go through them again at the end. So, John, we'll start with you. What are you currently looking at with your trade plans? Obviously, looking at teams, and obviously maybe it might change tomorrow with the benches being trimmed. But what are you currently looking at the moment?
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm going Bonnie Too Good out for Ash Woodland, using Hayley McLaughlin, going sideways to Laura Stone. Probably should have just done that last week, but well.
Yep, I'm the same. Mate, we were talking about that about 10 minutes before the game last week. We were saying Stone and McLaughlin, and he said Stone roll. McLaughlin got the form, and we both bet McLaughlin. And it would have been nice because it would have been one less trade we had to do. But you win some, you lose some, as they say.
Yeah, and then trying to save a little bit of cash for next week, as well as fund the Too Good up by going McCormick down for Tess Boyd.
Yeah, I like it. Tom?
I am doing the last time I mentioned this player's name this season, Ange Stannett, down to Laura Stone.
Guaranteed now you've jinxed it, and now something's going to happen to that Freo midfield, and she's going to go back in there, and then you're going to go, oh, is she not in?
It's like the Sarah Verrier for Will. It's just we're just there. On the other end, we're doing Bonnie Too Good up to Taylor Harris. I got Ash Woodland last week, so I'm going for Taylor Harris with a good run ahead. And with a little bit of cash I have left over, I'm doing Ash Centra out for Tessa Boyd.
Ash Centra out. Interesting. After
Interesting.
good comments last week.
Tough. I see Collingwood got quite a tough run to come. And I need someone to trade out.
Yeah.
I'm literally just playing the break-even game, thinking that Boyd was going to go up more cash than Centra this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their next four is awful. That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. The next four is so. I thought Centra might play well an average 60, which is more of a slower burn. Whereas I think Boyd can go up 200k this week, and I can jump off in that utility spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good shout. For me at the moment, I've got Paxman down to Tessa Boyd, which I'm still not sure if I'm doing that. I've got to find a way to get the cash, because then on the other end, I'm going McLaughlin to Stone, and then I'm going Bonnie Too Good up to Ash Woodland. I just like that Gold Coast matchup this week and getting that upgrade. But I have thought about Prasparkas across to Kate Hoare to get that cash and get that good matchup, but I'm not quite sure if I want to trade a big mid out just yet. I could see Prasparkas going pretty big on my head if I did do that. So a couple of options I'm looking at. But that's currently where I'm sitting at time of recording. So let's get into your questions as well. Actually, before we do, John, I know that Liam does the captains, but for those that might have missed it, who were his sort of top captains he's looking at? Because I guess that normally we just go, captain Ebony Marinoff, it's fine, we don't need to worry about it. But I feel like the first couple of weeks of the pack has closed on Ebony Marinoff at the top, and there's a few other very good options, namely from North Melbourne, that could sort of challenge that mantle for that number one spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange that we've had a couple of weeks where she's not been the top scorer, because she's been so reliable over the last little while. But I think
129 is not good enough. Not good enough.
Yeah.
We want...
I think at the moment we're still going with Noffy on top spot, because the last two times she's played the Giants, it's been 177 and 174. So it's kind of hard to pass up on that form. I don't know if she's going to get back to that sort of a level, because my read on that last quarter against Geelong was that they had a lot more stoppages just because they were scoring a bunch. So to me, if the Crows can get back into that good roll of form and there's more stoppages, then Noffy's going to have these 50 points quarters. But the game has changed sort of away from her style of play. So I'd be surprised if she went less than 120. But yeah, I think you don't really see a safer captain still. Then Riddell and Garner, I mean, they're incredible. I think it's hard to go past them. Number 4 on Liam's list was Kate Hoare. I think with the Pies, that understrength midfield at the moment. And then number 5, I think he was deliberating between Abby Dowrick and Tyler Hanks all week. And I think we ended up with Abby Dowrick in that spot. So any of those are pretty tempting options.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you sticking with Noffy as your captain this week, or any?
Yeah, I think my plan was Noffy C. There was a small part of me that really wanted to bring in a red dot so I could have a look at Noffy first and then go into Gardner if I needed to. But I just think the cash that you lose is too important. So I've talked myself out of that, thankfully.
Yeah, yeah. No, I thought about going Papa Dunlop down to a red dot to fund the other moves and have that red dot. But as you say, it's cash gen still, I think, is important, because I wonder if we can consider this year with all the cash gen, is there a place for a 17th primo? I was trying to do it in my head how many spots we have on field. Is there a spot for a 17th primo maybe in AFLW Fantasy this year with the cash gen? Who knows? So something to think about maybe later on in the season. Tom, are you Noffy as well, captain?
I think so. I just think I'd feel horrendous all weekend if I didn't do it. So I'm sticking fat with Noff.
Yeah,
hopefully the last
as well
quarter awakens the scoring juggernaut.
Yeah, I think that look, watching that game for the Crows, I think that's a sign of things turned with Chelsea Randall back in, had a good last quarter, Noffy getting back to some good form. I just think that it clicked a bit for the Crows. I feel like the preseason was They lost both games. They lost round one, didn't look good at all. And I was thinking, as a Crows fan, I was thinking, oh, is this the end of, like, is this a year of just maybe struggling through and then rebuilding with a new coach next year? But if the last quarter's anything to go by, 7 goals straight, if they can get back to some good form, we know that Noffy can go well. So I'm going to stick with Noffy this week as my captain there. But you could. We couldn't sort of talk you out of going or a Garner or a Riddell or Gardner if you wanted to go for one of those other 3 mids. Okay, let's get stuck into these questions now that you guys are seeing through. So if you're tuning in live, send through your questions and we'll get to as many as we can for the remainder of the show. So Matt's got the first question. Looking at doing Too Good to Woodland, Tonen to Stone, and Rowbottom to Patrikios. Thoughts? Ideally, I'd prefer to trade out Brown to Boy, but doesn't allow me to get Woodland. So Jono, we obviously talk about, we don't know if we'd get Patrikios in. Is this a case where, like, because this is what I want to ask you, right? Is because I've thought about this. Is Woodland a quote unquote sort of must get in a way this week because she's got Gold Coast, or could Matt go for a Taylor Harris or a Zanka type as that forward and then get a Kate Hoare instead of a Patrikios, who I think we feel a little bit more comfortable in? That's not that much more expensive, but I just imagine that Matt can't quite make that work with the funds.
Yeah, I think Woodland is probably one of the safest of the sort of that top end forward line that we're looking at. But I definitely think that you'd want to go a Kate Hoare over a Patrikios. And I think the difference there is bigger than Woodland to the next forward that you would end up getting, because I think the options are pretty plentiful, to be honest. So I think Zanka or Harris are great options. They're definitely underpriced on what they can deliver with that upcoming fixture. I worry long term about whether or not they're going to have their up and down games as key forwards. You know, you just have to get one game in the wet and suddenly it's going to be a bit more of a challenge. But generally, I think I'd be happy to go that and lock in a good midfielder like Kate Hoare, more so than I would be trying to risk it with a Patrikios.
If you had to pick one of the Melbourne forwards, because you've been on Zanka from the start, and I'm annoyed that I not got talked out of it, because my own fault for not putting her in, right? But here, just in a group chat that I'm in, and a few people say I'm not keen on Zanka, and I was like, oh, I am, and then I took her out, and I sort of caved when I should have backed myself, in. But I remember we chatted about it, one of the preseason pods about it. Where would you go if you had to pick one of them? Because I think Harris is 50k cheaper, 48k cheaper, something like that.
Yeah, I think she's 40 odd. I have a soft spot for Eden Zanka. I think there's sort of the two very different types of players, despite being key forwards in the same team. I think Taylor Harris is much more of your mark and goal player, whilst Zanka can really play a lot of different roles. Like we saw last week, she was getting midfield minutes and ruck minutes. You know, she can be thrown around into a lot of different positions. So to me, I sort of like that no matter how the game is going, Zanka has an opportunity to score, whilst Harris is sort of, I think she'll probably have a bigger ceiling on the dry days when things go Melbourne's way. But I think Zanka to me is going to have a higher floor than Taylor Harris. Harris could put out a 23 on a really off day, which I don't think Zanka will ever do. So I suppose it depends if you're looking for ceiling or if you're looking for more consistency. I prefer consistency generally, which is why I go Zanka.
Yeah. Tom, where would you go, Harris or Zanka?
I'm having this very... I'm currently on Harris, purely just to save a little bit of coin. Thinking that 48k could be quite useful next week. But that could easily change by lockout. I can afford either. I think I'm on Harris just because it's cheaper. I see them both averaging similar. I think, as you said, Jono, Harris will go 100, 30, 80, 40, whereas Zanka's more likely to go 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60.
I think that 96 that she put up was her third highest score ever. So I wouldn't expect the high scores from Zanka in the same way that I would from Harris. Yeah. And there's definitely been iterations of my trades this week which have had Harris coming in and having both of them, because I think they're both great options, really.
Harris is an explosive option, but you can't get angry when she scores single digits in a quarter.
Oh, well, I think, a lot of key
forwards. Just the kind of
the
kind of player she is.
A few people worried, obviously, with the 24 the week before, but I think she poked herself in the eye and only 38% game time. So that could have easily been at least a 45-50 score against the Dogs. So good form. Taylor Harris is in. So yeah, something I'm contemplating whether I need to get Woodland or if I'm happy enough to get Harris, because I think we're probably agreeing Harris isn't probably someone going to hold for the whole season, but she's probably someone that she can make some cash. Maybe it's easier to get a Chloe Malloy in our team, or if you don't have a Woodland, maybe she makes enough cash to make it a sideways switch. I think Maloney and Gould have dropped a bit in price. I actually don't hate going to Maloney this week as well. She's $740 as well, and she's dropped a bit with North and Adelaide, and her run opens up a little bit, particularly after this Sydney matchup. So she's someone I'm looking at as well. So yeah, that's something to consider for sure.
The green mile for Melbourne. Melbourne have the greenest of green miles for the next 5-6 weeks. I just want a piece of that team, if I'm honest. I just want a piece. I've got Paxi in my back line. I just want another piece of that Melbourne side because they're going very well.
Yeah, exactly. And just for those that, for context, for those that were following on with the run, so Melbourne go this week, they've got Collingwood, then next week they've got Richmond, then they go into Port Adelaide, then they've got West Coast, then Gold Coast, then Essendon, then Freo's dead semi sort of difficult one there. Then Sydney.
But then you can get off.
Yeah, so you got 5
you can
also weeks.
You can get off in 6 weeks' time.
Okay, now I feel like I'm looking at prospectus to Kate Hoare and get Taylor Harrison and get the Melbourne Duel in. So yeah, we'll see if I go there. Lee Everett, hey boys, love the content. Would love your thoughts on my trades this week. Going Patricios down to Bacon and having Fish on field, and then using that cash to go road bottom to Riddell and Too Good to Woodland. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on this? Because I tick them off. I'm not sure if Bacon's the one I'd go for. Like, if you can get a Boyd at least, I'd probably go there. But could you do those trades?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't go Bacon. I'd be tempted with a Mullins or a Martin over Bacon, just because I think Bacon's had the same role and not scored for Richmond. But I do like those trades. I think road bottom is a trade this week, and that is definitely an exciting way fun.
Yeah, exactly. Ben McCulloch, thoughts on doing Patricios, Too Good and Kosh to Georgia Stathis, Stone and Martin. So, Jono, what are your thoughts? I'm assuming that's Amelia Martin from Sydney is where Ben's looking there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Georgia Stathis and Stone, so I think that's pretty great trading there. Martin's an interesting one because I thought in that first half she was exceptional. I think she probably had 40 of her 50 points in that first half, and then she just sort of disappeared into the background in that second half. So it'll be interesting to see how the scoring goes from there. But yeah, I'd be happy with these trades.
Yeah, I'll tick them off as well. Will said, "Good old Stan at A, Tom." So there you go.
Yeah. Don't stop.
Callum Fife, thoughts on Amber Clark to Stone, Brown to Boyd, and Too Good to Harris. Traded Zanka to Clark last week. Should I try and get her back somehow? That obviously stings a little bit. I'm ticking them off. I'm playing make money. Brown to Boyd is really good for cash gen, and Too Good to Harris is a good trade. So I'm ticking them off for sure. Obviously Zanka sucks she traded, but yeah, maybe well, depends if you can go. Obviously, Tom, obviously you've discussed this Zanka or Harris. If you traded Zanka out, would you just want to get her straight back in and right that potential wrong, or do you just think you got to go with the different player just because
ride that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you'll feel, honestly, you will feel worse bringing Zanka back in and have failing, because then you've got the decision wrong twice.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I think you made a decision last week, and that should. It's just a question to ask yourself, Caelan, is will you be more upset with Zanka going well and you not owning her, or that you've spent 2 trades and the starting pick trading her out and back in again? And that's only you can answer that one. So I think, honestly, between those two, it's a toss-up.
Yeah, no, agreed. Just a quick one, just because I'm looking at it as well. Could you go, I mentioned it before, Jono, but could you go Ash Maloney over either of the Melbourne forwards? She's dropped a bit in cash. She's had 2 tough matchups to start, and she's got Sydney this week, but we mentioned that Geelong's run does open up a little bit after this week. So they got Sydney, which I guess isn't too bad, but then they go Essendon into Richmond, into Port Adelaide, and then they go for the Hawthorn there. Could you go Maloney, or do you think you jump on one of the Melbourne forwards to make that cash?
Yeah, I think based on how I expect the prices to move, even if they score the same, I expect Maloney would move up a little bit slower. So I guess I'd be okay avoiding it, because if she does score well, then you can chase it the next week. And they've still got very good defenders, so I wouldn't expect it to pop massively this week. I think you can probably leave that and jump on the Melbourne pair, but yeah, Maloney's going to be thereabouts for the top forwards come the end of the season. I wouldn't think it's a terrible pick.
Yeah,
I think with cheaper options with a better run in great form, I don't think you need to go for the person who doesn't have the great run yet. So you can just wait.
You could get Maloney next week, right? Like if you got a little bit of money, you might be able to go like a Vesio or something next week.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. That's exactly my point.
Yeah. Is that your point?
No.
What do we got here? Haz says, are we more shaky about roles of O'Shea and Boyd with Carney coming back in for North? So, Jono, what are your thoughts on? Because he says, would Carney come back in? Would you field a Wrench over Boyd or O'Shea? Cheers, gents, or keep Wrench on the bench?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would be. I think Carney's going to be that primary distributor, and that's sort of what O'Shea and Boyd were doing last week. Having said that, North they're holding on to possession the whole match. They're incredible. So, Tom, I don't know what's going on in your house.
For anyone that's watching along on the video, Jono was just chatting, and then Tom's background goes completely black because his light goes out. That was funny. Sorry, Jono. Continue what you're saying.
No, you're good. Yeah, I would imagine that O'Shea and Boyd.
Gone. Oh, the light bulb's gone in. The light bulb's gone in here. Sorry, guys.
I thought they'd cut the power early or something like that.
No, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Have you got a phone torch or something to give us some light in the room or whatever? Or...
It's incredible.
Oh, there you go. That's not too bad, actually.
There we go.
Yeah. So, John,
so I think O'Shea and Boyd will be impacted. I still think they'll score okay. I'm not worried too much. But when it comes to who you're fielding, I'm not planning on fielding Boyd this week, even after that 72. I've got Rebecca Ott and Jess Wrench. I'm probably going to play one of those two before I play Boyd.
Ott first with the ruck?
Yeah, I think so. Wrench. That's currently what I've got. I'm not settled on that because I do think Essendon, they're very well structured. So I'm trying to decide how much that impacts for a West Coast team that's kind of young and learning things. Because against St Kilda, I can see Wrench kind of bouncing back, but yeah, for the moment, I'm sitting on Rebecca Ott with that ruck time.
Yeah, I think I agree just as well. And Haz says, Bales, have you considered Watson out over Paxman in a similar position needing to trade our defender? I definitely have considered that. I guess I'm just looking at it going, well, Serene Watson's someone I'm probably going to hold for the remainder of the year, whereas Paxy's probably someone I'll be trading at some point. So I'm like, well, if I'm trading a defender, might as well keep Watson because it saves a trade of me bringing her back in. Because I don't think she's just going to all of a sudden go down to 600K and I'm going to get a lot of money. She's probably going to stay above 800K. So I might lose 40K, but I think it's fine there. But no, I don't mind that call has because it is something I've considered. Nick Turner, is Laura Stone fieldable at F5? Think you've too good down to Stone at F5, allowing me to go Kosh up to a Boyd type. No idea about my third trade. Well, those two trades are good, Nick. You're getting rid of someone out this week. Boyd will make money. And I think I'm fielding Stone at F5 this week. I'm bringing her in. I think Jono said he's doing the same as well. And Tom is also doing the same thing. So, yep, you can definitely field her. Corey Blatted, she's Woodland named at full forward.
Yeah,
Jono, we've had this. We've had plenty of players get named somewhere, and it doesn't matter. Like just look, as Tom said in our group chat, look at the Sydney team. Like everyone's named everywhere. So look at Gold Coast round 1. Gregory was named as the Ruck Rover. Robon was named as the Ruck. So I think there's a few teams you can look at, like, for example, Melbourne. The fact that Shelley Heath's named on ball, I take a bet out of that, thinking that that's going to be a role. Purcell out. But there are some things like Woodland's playing midfield all year. So I'm not too fussed. Are you in agreement?
Ella Roberts is named at full forward.
Yeah.
Like,
I also think of all players to be named, like, if Woodland does play full forward, it's Gold Coast. Chloe Malloy just had a field day against them. Will survive, and then we can make the adjustment next week. So I think it's a fine risk to take.
That is a good point. Apparently, Rowbottom is also named the ruck again this week. That's what Corey said. So, yeah, there you go. That's how it goes. I wish that teams took naming teams on the team sheet more seriously, but unfortunately, some teams don't. Ghost Bakes, hey lads, trade plans currently. So Too Good, Tonnen, and Centra out. Woodland, Zanka, and Stone in. Do we tick these off? I'm sure that Jono would tick those off. Tom, you ticking them off as well?
Yeah. I'm enjoying. Can I have some of your cash that's in your bank? Because that's gorgeous.
It's more than the rest of us, that's for sure.
Is it just one thing with Ghost Bakes trades? Do we think we could trade another rookie out instead of Centra and then go Harris over Zanka if the cash difference is there? Do we think Centra is a hold? Like, she played midfield last week, was better, game time increased, a few free kicks against probably stopped that from being a 60-65. I still remember seeing a tweet. What was it last year? She scored like 190 in the Coates League. Like, she's someone that can get the ball, and with Slicer out, I think that's even more responsibility potentially on Centra to be in the midfield, Jono.
Yeah, I can imagine she'll keep playing midfield, and she did look fantastic in that midfield last week for real brief spurts. I do think, those updates we're getting before the game where she was still pointing to her hip, I think it's still bothering her. I don't think she's going to score massively. And I think Tom's point earlier about that fixture, those 4 weeks, I hadn't really registered how difficult those 4 weeks are going to be. So I suppose, like, when I'm comparing against other midfielders, because the question is, would you trade them over someone like Jess Wrench? That's the sort of decision I'm looking at. And it's tricky because I feel like you get a lot more money from Wrench. And you know, if she averages 60 from here, Centra, as we were saying before, that's going to make more money than what I think Jess Wrench has left to go up. So
is the only thing that worries me with trading Centra. I know she's got tough matchups, but I feel like I want to back in the I guess that, not saying over Wrench, but in terms of like Centra, in terms of other rooks, I want to back in the talent, and that I just think she can pop some good scores even in tough matchups. Like, it's pretty incredible. Like, the good thing about the AFLW right this year is I think that I feel like this crop of rookies have it's like you can see the spike about how good they are already in. Like, you look at Lucia Painter, Zippy Fish, Ash Centra. It's like, it's incredible to see them coming in and dominating these games. And, like, I wouldn't be shocked if we're talking about Zippy Fish is the one that's getting tagged over Laura Gardner in a couple of weeks' time, like, with their balls coming out of defense. So, very, very good for the competition, because these girls have had since the pretty much Auskick days, right? They've go right the way through, and we're seeing the benefits of that. So, it's amazing to see. But I believe that's all the questions that we've got through tonight. So I reckon we'll probably wrap up there tiny bit early, but that is all good. Yes, in terms of our trades, Jono, for those people that missed it earlier on, what are your current trades and your captain?
Yeah, so currently going Too Good, McLaughlin, and McCormick out for Ash Woodland, Laura Stone, and Tess Boyd, and captaining Ebony Marinoff this round. Yeah,
like it, mate. Tom?
I also have the C on Marinoff. I'm doing Too Good, Stammet, and Centra out, and bringing in Taylor Harris, Laura Stone, and Tess Boyd.
Yeah, like it. And then for me, Captain Marinoff as well. And then I'm going Paxman down to Boyd, putting Ott on field along with Wrench, going Too Good up to Woodland, and then my third trade being McLaughlin to Stone. So that is currently what I'm looking at doing there. Has did just have one here saying, do you think Melbourne's run affects Paxi for better or for worse, Jono?
I think even though they're listed in a defender in the game, they're playing on the wing, sort of that half forward area. I think overall it's for the best because they're going to have a lot of outside movement. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree as well. Like I could even go Neve McLaughlin out ahead of Paxman, but I'm tossing that up at the moment.
The only slight flag with Paxi is she sat on the bench for the last 10 minutes last week, which was utterly
they're definitely going to
infuriating.
manage. They're sort of like a little bit older. They're going to manage the run.
They're all the stars, but
yeah.
It could have been a huge run last week.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well, right? Is that Neve McLaughlin plays the whole game, takes a few kick-ins, is their main ball user out there, whereas on like Paxi's probably going to get managed at least in games if they're up by a fair bit. I don't think she's going to be someone that's going to be scoring tons and racking up the ball in the last quarter. She'd probably go quiet like she did last week. But yeah, something to consider. But I think she'll still score well anyway. But that is us wrapped up for another pre-lockout chat. So thanks to those that tuned in live. Apologies we didn't get on the socials a bit earlier to say we're going live here, but hopefully you can catch the replay or the podcast version. But Jono, thank you for once again jumping on the pre-lockout chat with us. Always a pleasure chatting fantasy with you, just chatting to you in general, mate. Where can the Pill find you across the socials, and where can people, I'm sure they've found already, where can they find the Free Kick Pod?
Yeah, so you can find me on X at Free Kick Jono, and then the pod at Free Kick W Pod on both X and Instagram. And then the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, they should be everywhere. And if they're not, let us know, because something's gone wrong. So,
yeah, and you can find it on the Free Kick feed or the official AFLW.
Or the official one as well, yeah.
So, yeah, make sure you guys check that out there. I'm sure you guys have all done already, but if you haven't, make sure you do. Tom, where can the Pill find you across the socials?
Yeah, you can find me at X at Tom_Hales_. Good luck for this week, everybody. Enjoy watching just a dedicated weekend of AFLW footy. Get around the girls.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree more, mate. Looking forward to sitting down watching all of them, because this split screen stuff, watching the men's footy and the women's footy at the same time, is certainly can't concentrate really on either. So I'm glad I can focus on to one and pretty much moving forward, right? Because there'll be no more overlapping. The finals will be on at separate times to all the AFLW. So looking forward to that. You can find me at BAILSDT across the socials and us at AFL Fantasy Fans on X. And yeah, good. As Tom said, good luck this week. Good luck with your trades. Good luck with your captaincy decisions, everything like that. Hope you guys smash out a big score. And we'll catch you guys. We're probably recording Sunday night at this stage. Hopefully Tom's internet is all good after moving house. And we do have another special guest as well jumping on with us. So looking forward to chatting to him about how he's going in AFLW Fantasy to begin the year. So we'll catch you guys on, that'll be dropping Monday afternoon. So we'll catch you guys then. Have a good weekend. And we'll see you guys next one. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.